Wow, Donkey Kong Bonanza. I can't believe it. After 11 years since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, it really felt like it was his time, but it really was worrying. It was concerning whether he would actually come back in a substantial way that we want to, or if he would be merged into the conglomerate Mario franchise, as it kind of was starting to look like it might be. But I had a feeling, I had a hunch that Donkey Kong would return. Obviously, I made a video all about it the day before the direct. I'm going to give myself credit for that. And it seems that the Odyssey team have been working on a 3D Donkey Kong game, the first one since the N64, and it looks absolutely incredible, from the destructible environments to the expressive way that Donkey Kong is animated, and it's just a gorgeous game. It just has so much charm to it and so much intrigue as well, because while we've seen quite a lot, and we've seen gameplay in the treehouse over the past couple of weeks, there's a lot that's clearly being hidden under the surface, and based on leaks, based on just hints in the trailer, there's 4 things that I think are being hidden, and I'm going to explain what I think is being actually hidden with these hints in the trailer. Because if it is the Odyssey team, like we think, then we know that they do keep their cards close to their chest with their reveal, where it shows enough for it to look incredible. But then the E3 trailer for Odyssey, it just completely flipped that game on its head. And so I think that we might be in for the same for Donkey Kong Bonanza. So if you've made it this far already, I would appreciate if you like this video, and if you would subscribe if you haven't already, and you could even click the notification bell just so that you don't miss a video. And if you're still listening, I would appreciate if you would maybe reply with your favorite Donkey Kong game and why. So I'll know if you're listening if you comment your favorite Donkey Kong game and explain to me why. And if you haven't played a Donkey Kong game, firstly, stop the video and play one, and then come back to the video later and let me know which one you like the best when you've done your entire little Donkey Kong marathon. It will probably take you 2 days because they're short and they're fun and they're addictive. But anyway, let's get into the 4 things that I think we don't know yet. Well, as I'm recording this, we do know that the main goal of the game is to collect these banana crystals, these banana diamonds, I think called Banandium, I think that's what they're called. And doing that and trying to prevent Voidco, which are 3 apes that are also trying to get a share of this. They're trying to get a share of this as well. And so the main goal of the game is to dig down deeper and deeper, find them and collect them. And that's a great little premise. That's a great premise. But the thing is, we don't know the specifics about it, because obviously the game won't just be, oh, you have to dig down deeper and collect. There's always other goals and other motives that are kind of being hidden at the moment. For the sake of the fact that the reveal, we just know it's a collectathon. We know it's sandbox. We know that it's destructible environments, and the extent of how destructible those environments are makes me even more curious for just how far it's going to go, I suppose. And so I propose that we don't know what is in the middle of this earth and who is in the middle of this earth, and why we are going that deep down into the earth. Like, is the center of the earth like the nucleus of these bananas, and do these banana diamonds have any other property to them? Is it just they're really valuable? Is the entire thing just because they want to get stupid rich? And the thing is with Voidco is that they're specifically very mysterious, and I think that they are intentionally, I don't think they have that much of an ulterior motive. I think that they are just in it for the money. I think they've been ordered to dig down deep into the core of the earth, because maybe that's where the ultimate banana crystal is. That's where the ultimate one is. and maybe he's been like, they've been commissioned by someone, and I think that's backed up by the fact that the French website did actually suggest that the Void Co were being there was like a mastermind behind them, and Cranky Kong, who's in this game by the way, implied that he knew exactly who it would be. And maybe we'll get to that a little bit later with another kind of related but separate theory. But I just want you to think about it this way. Why would these monkeys, why would these 3 apes have an army minion, why would these 3 apes have an army of like undead crocodiles? Because the main villains, the main like minions that you fight are just these undead golden skeletons, crocodiles. And so why would they be serving under these 3 random apes that just, they're prospectors basically? They're just trying to get money. They're trying to get as much money as they can. And so to me it doesn't add up. And I think that whatever is in the center of the earth is, I think there's other qualities to it. I don't think it's just money. I think there's also another side effect of it. And I wonder what their motivations would be to get that. And well, if their minions are crocodiles, undead crocodiles, then you can start to wonder and start to suggest what that is exactly. Maybe it's not just money. Maybe it's also the gift of life. Maybe it's the gift of rebirth. And so that leads into my next thing. It's likely that if you're watching this, that the theories going on right now. Everybody is on #CrocWatch at the moment, because, as I said, the enemies, they're all the underlings. They're all crocodiles. They're all these rock statues that look like crocodiles, and then you break into them, and there's a literal undead skeleton crocodile, all golden inside. And considering the main villains are 3 monkeys, 3 apes, why would their minions be crocodiles? There's only one villain. There's only one race of character in Donkey Kong that is a crocodile, that is crocodile-like. And I imagine if they're making a new Donkey Kong game and they decide to put crocodile enemies in there, they wouldn't do that without having the man himself, King K. Rool, return. And I think everybody's been hoping for King K. Rool to return, and then the last 2 games that we've got, he just hasn't. He's had like a legally distinct King K. Rool replacement, especially with Lord Frederick. But I think in this case, considering we've had Smash, and King K. Rool's been in Smash, and the way that people view him now is as kind of the main Donkey Kong villain, it would be kind of a missed opportunity to not then use that clout, I suppose, from Smash Ultimate in the new Donkey Kong game to really establish him again. But obviously they don't need to have King K. Rool in any Donkey Kong game. They don't need to, and it is really a fan thing. But considering that the underlings are all crocodile based, and there's even a big boss one that looks a lot like it's the several faces of the several different personalities of King K. Rool, even with a little golden looking crown at the top of it. It would just make no sense to me if King K. Rool didn't have any involvement. I think Cranky even alludes to it in one of his lines, that he says that he knows who would be behind this. And as I said before, Void Co, they have somebody behind them. And if he's still alive, clearly his Kremlings aren't, because they're all kind of hidden away in these rocks, and they've always been fossilized, that these skeletons, and they're not alive anymore. And so maybe he wants to revive his army, or if maybe he isn't alive in the game and he's resorted to the end of the game, then maybe he himself is dead, and maybe the Kremlins, the undead Kremlins, are trying to revive King K. Rool at the center of the earth. Both of these would be fine. Both of these would be good. Either way, a King K. Rool final boss, that's all I need. That's all I need in my life right now. And I think it would actually be really cool now to think about it if the final boss is literally a revived, like literally just been revived King K. Rool to like emerging in the middle of the earth. That would be absolutely incredible. That would be so exciting. So I do think King K. Rool has a part to play in this game in some capacity. Like, you know, even if he's not the main villain, I feel like he has to be in it in some way. It's just, it'd be too much of a bait and switch, and so maybe I'm coping. But you know what? Last time we could cope about it was 11 years ago. So I think I deserve a little bit more King K. Rool cope before, I guess, we lose hope again. Another thing is the distinct lack of Kongs in the game so far, established Kongs that we know. Most notably is Diddy Kong, obviously the right-hand man to Donkey Kong himself. The only other Kong that we've seen is Cranky Kong, and as an NPC. And you know, I mean, Cranky Kong is obviously a very important one, but I do think that his existence there does confirm that the others will be there in some capacity. But the real question is, why haven't they shown us Diddy Kong? Why haven't they shown us Dixie Kong? Why have they not shown us these characters? They're very integral to Donkey Kong as a franchise. There's no reason to exclude them and like make them a surprise reveal. It's as if there was a new Super Mario Bros. Game and they shock revealed Luigi was going to be playable in it. But yeah, I think Diddy Kong will absolutely be in the game. But to what extent? Well, you know, the game so far does seem like it's a successor to, in many ways, to Donkey Kong 64. It has a lot of, it feels like it has a lot of reverence for that game. And so what if you can actually play as Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong in this game, and possibly even Cranky Kong, and maybe even Funky Kong? You know, Chunky Kong and Lanky Kong might be a little bit extreme, you know. I think maybe we're not going that deep, maybe, but maybe you can even play as them in these different levels. And I think there's a lot that we don't know about secret levels. You know, we saw that 2D level that was inspired by Donkey Kong Country, that I'm really excited to see how far they go with that type of level, because as I said, I've been craving a 2D Donkey Kong game for a while, so I wouldn't mind some 2D levels in my 3D Donkey Kong. But yeah, I mean, I think whatever gameplay purpose Dixie Kong and Diddy Kong have in the game, they're obviously holding it back. So do you play as them, or are they like the retro games where you go on your shoulder and they boost you up? They boost you up in different ways of platforming. Both of these would work, but I think there's no reason to hide that in the trailer. Cranky Kong wasn't even in the initial trailer, and it was only until the treehouse that we knew who was in the game. So who knows how much they're hiding when it comes to the roles of Diddy Kong and maybe even Dixie Kong in the game. And I'm really curious to see what part they play. And you know, narratively, like, is this the first time they meet? Because we don't know when this is set. We don't know that yet. And so there's a lot of potential avenues for how Diddy Kong can be in this game. But I expect Diddy Kong to be in the next trailer, because you can't have a Donkey Kong game without Diddy Kong. Not anymore. You can't have that anymore. So here's hoping that they haven't forgotten Diddy. This last point, I'm going to be covering a certain leak that we saw from the Nintendo Korea site. It was the key art, the main box art for Donkey Kong Bonanza, but instead of Oddrock, it had something else on it. If you don't want to know before probably the next trailer drops, then reveals that, then I suggest maybe clicking off. Thank you for watching. If you've got made it this far, and you know, remember to comment your favorite Donkey Kong game, and see you later. But I'm gonna get into that now. So Oddrock is a character that obviously is the main companion as far as we know, and you know, it's just a little purple rock, and in that key image, it's replaced by a little girl that looks strikingly, not even just strikingly, but identical to Pauline, but as a young girl, maybe 11-year-old girl. And this wow, this is quite a lot. This is opens quite a lot of doors really for when this game could be set, what the point of this game is. And you know, Pauline has been pushed quite a lot lately, so in hindsight it kind of makes sense. And even if you look back at the Donkey Kong Freedom game that got leaked, that was going to be made by Activision, Pauline was going to be in that game in some capacity. So I think the idea that Pauline was going to come back to the forefront has been a thing for Nintendo for a while, and I think it was specifically gearing up for Donkey Kong. And so, you know, that it becomes the question of, is this Pauline? Is this girl Pauline? And is Pauline actually Oddrock? Is the implication that Oddrock is actually Pauline? Well, Oddrock is shown specifically to have a lot of, like, he's associated with singing, associated with like echolocation, and so obviously Pauline's entire character trait is her singing, so that makes sense. But why has she been converted into a rock? Well, we go back to the undead Kremlings. They're also fossilized in a rock, and so maybe there is something to it. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe she's also been cursed by a similar thing, and maybe that's why she's Oddrock. I don't know how she gets out of it. Maybe she kind of gets crushed. Maybe Oddrock gets crushed by something, and underneath it, it's like, wow, this is little mini Pauline. So, you know, I mean, it's probably some sort of curse. I'm not sure why she'd be cursed though. But you know, I think the other question is this actually Pauline? Is this an unrelated girl? Don't think it would be an unrelated girl. It would be a weird coincidence to do that, especially in a Donkey Kong game, especially when you've been pushing the character so far, especially when you can make this little girl Pauline a character in Mario Kart from now on. But the other possibility is that maybe she is actually Pauline's daughter or Pauline's niece, or like related to Pauline in some way, and maybe Donkey Kong finds her. I don't know. Or it's kind of it's a weird situation there. Why she would just be so far away from New Donk City, and you know, if that's the case, if she is just traveling afar, I guess she's accidentally traveled afar. Maybe she's made her way across the ocean to was it Ingot Isle, and you know that we have seen these crates with NDC on it. Maybe Pauline's niece or Pauline's daughter accidentally got trapped in one of those boxes. But that's a little bit grim, and it kind of implies that Pauline is a bad mother, and I don't think they want to do that. So why would Pauline's daughter or niece be there? For me, I think the implication is there's actually Pauline, the Pauline that we know in Mario Odyssey. And I know what you're saying, it's like Cranky Kong is in the game already, so why would young Pauline be here and Cranky Kong, being all elderly, be here at the same time? And I think it's the implication that the Cranky Kong that kidnapped Pauline is, that's Cranky Kong. And so he's like aged up and he's all elderly and shriveled, but she looks like she looks like she's barely aged. Same with Mario, they look like they've barely aged. And so I think maybe the implication is that the Pauline, the young Pauline that we have here, is actually the Odyssey Pauline as a young girl, and she is the daughter or the granddaughter of the Pauline that got kidnapped. And the same names, but I think that might be the best way to explain it, because I think it also really does patch up some age concerns, because it's always been weird that Cranky Kong is like this elderly ape, and then the other Mario characters that were alive in that same event are just the same age. And so it would be a smart way of kind of having this, like, essentially this, I say gimmick, but having the gimmick of having Pauline as a little buddy companion that goes on Donkey Kong's shoulder, having like a Sully and Boo kind of dynamic, while also being able to tie into Odyssey, kind of make the Mario world feel more connected, and also managed to still have Cranky Kong and Diddy Kong and all these Kongs that you want to have in a new Donkey Kong game. So you kind of have your cake and you eat it too. So yeah, the implications there are really interesting, and I think for me it implies that Donkey Kong Bonanza is actually a soft reboot of the franchise. It's going to take elements from the arcade game, elements from the Country series, and kind of blend them together, you know, bring back King K. Rool, but also have Pauline. And, you know, honestly, I think that is the best direction for the series at the moment. I think a lot of people get caught up in the established continuity, but, you know, Donkey Kong's not a series that you play for the story, and I think, you know, really kind of making the two of these parts of Donkey Kong as a character cohesive is, I think, beneficial for the future of the series. But those are just the four main things that we can glean from the trailer, and you know, there might be stuff that we haven't even thought about, we haven't even conceived of. You know, I couldn't have thought of the capture mechanic if you put a gun to my head, and so you never know what is being hidden in this game, and I think it looks incredible, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm just excited to be in a Donkey Kong hype cycle yet again, because, you know, I mean, honestly, this is the first time I've been in one, because I wasn't really into Donkey Kong the last time there was in the game. So yeah, this is the first time I've been in Donkey Kong hype cycle, and it's great that there's so much to speculate about with the new Donkey Kong game. It's not just you see the trailer and you've seen it all. No, there's a lot being left under the surface to boil, you know, just to let us speculate and talk about, and then they'll blow us away with that next trailer, and so I'm just really excited about it. But yes, that's everything I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.